What's happening, my fellow geeks and geekettes? Welcome to a brand new episode of Chris's Custom Collectibles. This one, as always, has been a long time coming, long time in the making. Today, we are going to be finally pimping out the Rubies Star Lord blaster from Guardians of the Galaxy. Finally got my hands on one of these bad boys. There is a massive premium on these at the moment on eBay, but my good buddy Vince, who is known as Big Hero Vince, who does amazing cosplays including Star-Lord and Batman, he sent me one of these all the way from the US&A. Now, I've been doing my research on this bad boy because I got the chance to go to the Marvel exhibition last year in Brisbane with some friends of mine. I got some nice up-close HD shots of the screen-used props, the screen-used Star-Lord blasters. Now, paint-wise, it's a piece of cake. The thing that is really going to test me is the carbon fiber hand grip. We're going to be using a carbon fiber vinyl wrap that is used for automotive stuff that Miles gave me. Miles had this lying around, so a massive thank you to Miles for giving me this big square sheet of carbon fiber vinyl wrap. So it's going to involve some heat. We've got to heat the sheeting up, and I've got to obviously make it look nice and neat and like it was made in a factory. You know how this goes, guys. I'm probably going to stuff up along the way, but if you don't fail, you're not doing it right. So first things first is we have to take this apart before we prime it. So the beauty part is it is completely split down the middle. We have all the screw holes here. Now let's backtrack a little bit more. Before we unscrew this, I'm actually gonna bore out all the blaster holes here, then unscrew the piece and take it apart. We're then gonna prime it with a flat gray primer from Rust-Oleum. We're then gonna do all the appropriate base colors, and then we're gonna go in and do the detailing like the exhaust burns on the barrels here, much like Kylo Ren's lightsaber. Then finally, we are gonna get to the carbon fiber vinyl wrap. I'm so nervous about that. We'll get there in the end, but for now, it's just the fear of the unknown. This is quite a simple custom job, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a learning experience for me and hopefully you guys. So with that being said, let's get to it. Now, before I get to boring the holes out and taking this piece apart, we actually have the Rubies and Marvel insignia here, all raised, so we do have to attack it with some sandpaper till it's nice and smooth. And there we go, all gone. Alright geeks, so next up is the weathering process. Now of course it's not a custom collectible video without good old mate shoe polish. So we're going to be using black shoe polish, but we've got a bit of a spin on it this episode. I've mixed in some metallic powder. This is usually a pigment slash metallic powder that I put into resin if I want to get a kind of a metallic sheen with the resin. So I've mixed it in with the black shoe polish, and essentially what this does, it kind of still captures that metallic finish we have here on the silver panels, the gold panels, instead of creating that kind of dull look when we remove the excess shoe polish for the weathering process. So it's something a little bit different, but like I said, it's going to keep with the theme of a nice metallic sheen even on the black areas. So I'm going to temporarily put the gun back together just so the weathering is all unified and all organic, instead of doing it on each side and the weathering doesn't match up. Once this phase is done, it's time to move on to the scorching marks around the barrels of the gun. Okay, I am very happy with how this weathering has turned out so far, and so much so that I actually painted on a few extra layers of the black shoe polish with that silver metallic powder embedded into it on the body of the blaster itself. Of course, excluding this part here, that will have the carbon fiber vinyl wrap around it. So the next step is to move on to the heat and scorching patterns around the barrels here. So I have a mixture of 3 paints here. We're going to be starting off with a base layer of pink going all around the perimeter of the barrels here. I'm then going to be going over it with a nice Arctic metallic blue. Finally, I'm going to be going over the Arctic blue with a grabber blue. That's just the name of the color itself. So that kind of fills in the blue color and almost gives it a purple hue, because it is going to be mixing with the pink. So that will just give the illusion of scorched metal from extreme heat from this blaster firing off. We're going to be doing this all by hand. Usually people would use an airbrush for this, but you know, for the most part, a lot of people out there who don't have an airbrush, this is the perfect way to experiment and try to replicate certain patterns by hand. Once you can do that, you can pretty much do anything. Like, an airbrush is an amazing help, but to do something by hand, that's just another step up. Okay, the scorching phase is done. I'm very happy with that end result. Guys, remember the last time I did something like this was the Kylo Ren lightsaber hilt, so it's been quite a while, but very happy with how those 3 colors blended together, just to give that illusion of extreme heat from the blaster going off. So the next step is we're going to do some dry brushing around the edges. From what I've seen in terms of the photos that I took of the screen use prop, there is severe scuffing on the upper body and the lower body of the blasters. So I've just got a standard flat brush here. We've got the Model Master Silver, and we're just going to go around and dry brush certain edges and scuff marks all over the upper and lower body. Now, you don't really need a sense of uniform or anything like that. Just basically just try to match it up to the screen use prop. Look at screen caps, because in my opinion the props aren't all 100% spot on in terms of looking alike. There are going to be certain scratch marks that aren't on the other prop or the stunt prop. So leave it up to you, like, it's your own interpretation, but I'm gonna go for a bit of subtlety. Obviously all the edges I feel should be scuffed, because this thing goes from extreme wear and tear in the films. I'm gonna let this fully dry over the night, then we can get to the carbon fiber hand wrap. I'm very nervous about that. Okay, so the second last step in this custom job is the carbon fiber vinyl hand wraps. Now obviously the screen used prop, it was real carbon fiber for the hand grip, but you know, it's a little bit too extreme for something like a custom collectible. So what we have here is some carbon fiber vinyl wrap. Now this piece was donated very kindly by Bill Duran of Punished Props, and this piece here was donated by Miles, who you know as Flux Electronics. So I've been umming and ahhing on which one to use. I think for the most part I'm going to give Miles's one a crack, because under extreme heat, which is what we have to use, we've got to use a paint stripper gun to soften it, to get around all those contouring edges, etc. This seems to be the most softest and the most pliable. My only concern is air bubbles and just getting everything to look uniform. It's kind of like putting contact on your school books. It's pretty much trying to get that perfect balance of warping around the shapes and also having some left over that we can tuck around into the gun when we seal it back together. So what I'm going to be doing is tracing around like so to get a good idea of the shape of the hand grip, and then I'm going to cut the piece out, put it down like so. I'm going to peel it off from its base, stick it down like so. We're then going to hit it with the paint stripper gun. Now what it'll do is it'll warp and then it'll flatten back out, and that's when we can go in when it is soft and get it and mold it around all the edgings. Now I doubt I'm going to get this on the first go, so this is seriously a lot of trial and error. I also have to do a separate part for the back piece here, as opposed to this side of the gun, which is just one piece that should go down like so. But like I said, with this piece we have to do a two-parter. I'm going to join them back together. We're then going to seal it with a clear gloss spray from Rust-Oleum, and then we're going to call it a day. Okay, in all honesty, this is the most horrendous thing I've ever had to do with a custom collectible. This stuff is just the worst to work with. And usually I'd edit this stuff out with the end result, but it's not. It's really, really tricky, guys. I can't stress that enough. Because of the intricate shapes and the curves, it's really annoying to work with. You can see here, it wants to lift. Even using a heat gun, it just doesn't want to stick down. So this shiny side here is actually clear resin, Bee Queen to be exact, part A, part B. So I'm going over it bits at a time, brushing it on to seal the whole thing up. I'm probably going to lose some of that carbon fiber texture, but at this point it's the only thing that's going to keep it all down. So I'm going to have to dull it back with a matte spray after that and then seal it up. But just a heads up, if you guys are using this method, be wary. It is going to be very fiddly and you're going to get the shits. So geeks, I'm going to be quite upfront. I am not happy with this result at all, so much so that I actually watched Bill Duran's video on his YouTube channel, Punished Props. He encountered the exact same problem. It's just one of those things where the screen used prop was actually made from carbon fiber, so that's why it looks so good, whereas you're using a carbon fiber vinyl wrap on something that's not a flat surface, you are going to encounter these problems. So I've already started peeling it off. I hate to say it and be a killjoy, but I am going to peel it off. And what we're going to do is clean up the hand grip area, and then we're going to dry brush some metallic silver from Model Masters over the hand grip. We're then going to seal the entire piece up with a clear coat. So geeks, I've taken all of the carbon fiber vinyl wrap off. Unfortunately, there is some resin residue that has seeped through onto the plastic. And if I try and get it off, it's just gonna chip straight through back down to the base layer. So I'm just gonna go back over it with some Model Masters flat black. Look, once again, I do want to apologize that it didn't work out the way you guys wanted it to, and that obviously I wanted it to, because the carbon fiber hand grip on Chris Pratt's screen use prop is quite the centerpiece of the entire prop itself. But like I said, it's one of those things where it was made of all different pieces. They've obviously used real carbon fiber. This is something that, you know, I really can't do. It's something I can't afford. You can either go that route if you have the money, or you can do a chemical dip where you do dip the certain piece into a chemical bath and it does come out with the carbon fiber texture on it. So like I said, we're going to be going over this with a flat black, cleaning it all up, and then I'm going to get some Model Masters chrome silver and dry brush, just some wear and tear over the handle, seal it up. So I wanted to include this failure in the video because I always say if you're not failing, you're not doing it right. Okay, now that the matte black has dried on the handle, I'm going back in with some more black shoe polish with some more silver powder mixed into it. Just a little bit more than last time because I kind of still want this to look metallic. And as you can see right there, it's got a lovely sheen to it already. So it's kind of emulating the carbon fiber look. Now once this is dried, we are then going to be doing the dry brushing effect. This was sort of a last minute decision, and I think it actually works out quite great. It looks quite good against the rest of the gun. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Again, apologies I could not complete the carbon fiber wrap feature on the custom itself. Nonetheless, this still worked out pretty well. Again, I just didn't want to delete the whole section out altogether. I wanted to show you guys what can happen if you try that route. Granted, some people will probably give it a crack and perfect it, and if you do, more power to you. It was just way too fiddly. I was spending way too much time on it, and I was probably gonna end up spending a lot more money if I really wanted to make it work. The screen use prop was using real carbon fiber pieces, and honestly, for a custom collectible, it's just way out of the question if you are on a budget. Guys, I hope you have yourselves a cracker of a weekend. I hope you're well, hope you're happy, be merry, be silly, and until next time, geeks, please always remember, cosplayers do it best.